going to be following three agendas this evening. We're going to be following our special meeting of council, which is going to deal with an application for zoning bylaw amendment under the Planning Act, Department of Planning and Development Services, report number 2013-17. The subject is a public hearing report for a zoning bylaw amendment, file number D140313, 1847 Fire Lane 2. The second portion of our meeting will in fact be the committee of the whole meeting, and then following that will be our council meeting, which we would only expect that most of the decisions made at committee of the whole would be ratified at council. So we are going to start off with a prayer from Councillor Angie Demeray, followed by the national anthem by Mr. Joe Longfellow. Councillor Demeray.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I say the prayer tonight, I'd like everybody to keep in their hearts and their minds Peter Cormos, our former MPP, Welland City Councillor, and most recently Regional Councillor and dear friend. Father, Mother, God, thank you for your presence during the hard and mean days, for then we have to lean upon you. Thank you for your presence during the bright and sunny days, for then we can share that which we have and those who have less, with those who have less. And thank you for your presence during the holy days, for then we are able to celebrate you and our families and our friends. For those who have no voice, we ask you to speak. For those who feel unworthy, we ask you to pour out your love. For those who live in pain, we ask that you bathe them in the river of your healing. For those who are lonely, we ask you to keep them company. For those who are depressed, we ask you to shower upon them the light of hope. Dear Creator, you, the borderless sea of substance, we ask that you give to all the world that we need most, peace. Amen.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons' command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Joe, as always. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As always, my pleasure.
Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, members of council, if I can have a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Danch, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Are there any disclosures of interest? Members of council? With none, we will now move on with the public hearing under the Planning Act, as I mentioned before, Department of Planning and Development Services, report number 2013-17. The subject, public hearing report for zoning bylaw amendment, file number D14-03-13, 1847 Fire Lane 2. Mr. Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you, members of council, staff, and those in attendance this evening. As the mayor mentioned, the purpose of this meeting is to consider a zoning bylaw amendment application under the Planning Act for property located at 1847 Fire Lane number 2. It was submitted by Don Chambers on behalf of 1847 Fire Lane 2 Limited. I will get into the details of the proposed application, but essentially it's proposing to permit a second single-family home on the property and to allow a reduction from the high water mark. Method of notice for this evening's meeting was given in accordance with sections 34, 12, 13, and 14 of the Planning Act and section 3 of Ontario Regulation 545/6. Notice of this meeting was mailed out to those property owners within 120 meters of the subject property, and a proper poster notice was placed on the property. The explanation we follow this evening, Mr. Mayor, is I will present Planning and Development Report 2013-17, which will actually get into the details of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. We will then allow comments from the applicant to council. We will then allow comments or questions to myself or the applicant from council. We will then open up the floor to those members of the public that wish to address council. I will give a announcement of respecting the written notice of passage of the zoning bylaw amendment application, and I'll give an explanation of future meetings to be followed. This time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to present Planning and Development Report 2013-17. What the application proposes to do is to permit a second single-family home on the property, and also permit a setback from the high water mark of 15.9 meters. Presently, the zoning bylaw requires a 30-meter setback from the high water mark. The zoning bylaw also only permits one single-family home on a property. This application proposes to permit two, as I mentioned. Legally, the property is known as part of Lot 17, Concession 1, and part of water lot in front of Lot 17, Concession 1 in the city of Port Colborne, and again municipally known as 1847 Fire Lane Number 2. As you can see right here on the first photo is the actual property known as 1847 Fire Lane Number 2. Heather, could you please hit F5? The second photo, is a sketch of the property completed by Don Chambers. What this shows is the second single-family home proposed on the property, located in this location here. It is proposed to be 2,153 square feet in size. The other existing house on the property, is located right here, and it is approximately 1,636 square feet in size. Property is approximately overall 3.4 acres in size. Presently, the city's official plan designates the property as Lakeshore Residential and Hazard Land. The Lakeshore Residential designation permits single-family homes on the property, either seasonal or permanent in nature. The Hazard Land also protects the environmental features on the property, being the wave uprush, the dunes, all the environmental features on the property. The city's adopted official plan designates the property as rural, environmental conservation area, and environmental protection area. Again, the rural designation permits single-family residential uses. The environmental conservation area and the environmental protection area, again, prohibits development and also allows certain development provided proper study is in place. City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw zones the property Lakeshore Residential, residential development, and environmental protection area. Both the Lakeshore Residential and residential development zone permit a single-family home on the property. The Lakeshore Residential Zone also recognizes the seasonal nature of those land uses on properties. And the Environmental Protection Zone prohibits certain uses from occurring on the property, given the environmental sensitivity of the property adjacent to the Lake Erie shoreline. When the notice was circulated to those members of the public within 120 meters, no written comments were received. The following agencies have replied to the notice of public meeting. They are as follows. The city's Bylaw Enforcement Division, Building Division, and the Department of Engineering and Operations have indicated they have no adverse comments to the proposed application. The Region of Niagara Public Works Department Development Services Division has supplied a letter. What I will do is I will just highlight two comments that really are key to this application. They are as follows. The primary land use consideration for allowing the construction of a second dwelling is the ability of this property to sustain a private water supply and private sewage disposal system to service two dwellings. Regional staff note that there is sufficient usable land available to support a private sewage disposal system for both dwellings. NPCA staff note that the total lot area appears sufficient for sewage dilution of 2 septic systems. And finally, Regional Development Services staff is not opposed to the proposed additional single-family dwelling on the property. And from a provincial and regional perspective, subject to local planning considerations and the requirements of the NPCA, they have no objections to the application. The Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority has stated the following. They note that the wetland is located on the opposite side of fire lane number 2, and there is sufficient room outside the 30-meter buffer to allow for the development. As such, the NPCA are satisfied that the proposal will not have a significant negative impact on the wetland feature. The NPCA has completed a preliminary D54 analysis for this proposal to determine if the proposed lot is adequately sized to support 2 private sewage systems. NPA staff are satisfied that the total lot area, 1.37 hectares, not including the water, appears sufficient for sewage dilution of 2 systems. Although the NPCA has no objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, staff suggest that the reduction in the rear yard setback be changed from 15.9 meters to 21 meters to reflect the stable slope allowance. The applicant shall note that the NPCA review and approval will be required at the building permit stage, and development will not be permitted within the stable slope allowance. Mr. Mayor, this does conclude the Department of Planning and Development Report 2013-17. As I mentioned earlier, if I did not, Mr. Chambers is in attendance this evening, and as the next agenda item is to allow him an opportunity to address council if he so chooses.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilera. To the applicant, I see you back there. You're more than welcome to come on up and pass on a few words. Mr. Chambers, welcome.
I believe Ms. Acklin has covered everything that's required of IN here. If any questions, anybody have questions?
Great, thank you. Members of council, any questions or comments? Preferably questions at this time. The members of staff? Mr. Aguilera, fine? Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chambers.
you.
Great job. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Aguilera, it's back to you.
thank you very much. We'll take it that council has no questions to myself on that basis. Would like to open the floor up to those members of the public that wish to address council, but prior to that, I would like to read the following. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Port Colborne before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is approved, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the City of Port Colborne to the Ontario Municipal Board. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the City of Port Colborne before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is approved, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Municipal Board, unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. This time, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I would like to open the floor up if any member of the public wishes to address council or has any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilera. Are there any members of the public that would like to address council on this file? Members of the public, Mr. Aguilera, it's back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to note that there is a sign-in sheet at the back of the gallery. If any member of the public wishes to receive notice of council's consideration of passage of the zoning bylaw amendment, we will be sure to receive such notice. Mr. I would like to read this also for the record. If you wish to be notified of the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk. Only those persons or public bodies that give the clerk a written request of the notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw will be given such notice. Mr. Mayor, this does conclude the public meeting of the Planning Act. I would like to note for council's consideration, a recommendation report will be brought forward for council's consideration in the very near future.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilera. Members of council, no further questions or comments. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor Bodnar, Councilor Steele, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Mr. Aguilera, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, we're now going to move on to the Committee of the Whole agenda that you have presented to you. First off, I'm going to ask the clerk if she has any addendum items to present to members of council this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is one that I would like to introduce. At the request of the delegate, the delegation from Mark Thorick has been withdrawn as he's unable to attend tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Greg. Members of council, if I can have a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Demaray. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll now move on to disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures this evening? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 5 is I declared a conflict on it when it was up for discussion before, as I participate in one of the events that it deals with.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further disclosures, members? If not, we'll move on to any items requiring separate discussion this evening. Councillor Steele and Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll pull item number 1, and then item 5 for the conflict.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Bodnar.
Item 2, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott.
Item 10.
If I could have a motion to receive, let me just go through these first before I jump to that. You guys don't want to debate the remuneration this evening? Expenses? No? You're on top. You want to bury that one, don't you, Dave? You're funny, Butter. Members, if I could have a motion to receive the remainder of the items, please. Councillor Demaray, Councillor Steele, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. We'll now move on to our delegations. We have 2 delegations this evening. The first being Kieran Whitmire and Colleen Van Krologen regarding the World Fishing Network WFN Ultimate Fishing Contest 2013. Members of the council, you'll see correspondence in your agenda, page 17. Come on up, folks. What, no pickerel or perch?
It's done.
Bass? Welcome, guys. Great to have you up tonight. Just want to press the gray button there, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, and attendees tonight. My name is Kieran Whitmire, and I'm going to let everybody self-introduce themselves so I don't mispronunciate any names. This is Colleen.
Colleen Van Krologen.
Scott McGuire, for Colborne District Conservation Club. Maureen Raby, President for Colborne Conservation Club.
Welcome.
Again, my name is Kieran Whitmire, and I'm part of this year's committee for the Ultimate Fishing Town contest, which is held yearly by the World Fishing Network television show. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, in 2011 and 2012, we all worked very hard to take second place in this contest. In that meeting, we earned a total of $10,000 towards the fishing programs here in Port Colborne. Now, this year is Port Colborne's turn to be number 1. And we do need everybody's help. First place will receive a $25,000 donation towards these programs, and I'm standing here in front of you all to ask for your support in bringing home the gold. Now, first round of public voting does start April 15th, and this will be a very important time to get our numbers in as high as possible, as only 2 towns from the Ontario region will advance to the second round of public voting to take the top prize of $25,000 across Canada. Final voting will end on May 24th. Now, there are 4 voting blocks every day, and they have been adjusted a little bit, and I've corrected them appropriately, from 2:01 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning, 8:01 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2:01 p.m. to 8 p.m., and 8:01 to 2 a.m. They kind of played with us a little bit on that one with the World Fishing Network. Now, voting is key to the success of this campaign, and I do ask the city to assist with this contest in any way you can. Now, we're not asking council for any type of financial support by any way, shape, or form, but your knowledge and resources, business contacts within your riding, and the people to speak with. Support by social networking and signage within businesses you support and help spread the word. And of course, we will need your help to make this a success. And the end result will help build Port Colborne's continuing respect in the Niagara region as being one of the best places to visit and fish in Southern Ontario. I have recently spoke with 91.7 Giant FM, who is willing to help with spreading the word. The Tribune, as a matter of fact, has already posted on their Facebook page a little tidbit that there are some minor corrections that need to be put in place. Very recently, I've also been in contact with a gentleman by the name of Robin Saw. who is also a sports journalist and producer for CHTV, and who has shown some significant interest and is inquiring to see what they may be able to do to help with the cause. So gears are definitely in motion, and we certainly are here asking for the support of council, communities surrounding in the Niagara region. And if anybody else had something that they would like to add.
No, just the fact that the conservation is paying to have these made up so that we can put them on business windows. And we've also done up some handouts that we'll put in the stores to actually tell people that they can take home to tell them how to vote, and the verification of email, et cetera, because it is a little different for people just starting out if you haven't done it before. And the conservation, go ahead.
We have, with Colleen's husband Carl, we have purchased some docks that will be delivered to Highback Properties tomorrow afternoon. If the city wishes to go down, and they're free of charge to the city to put maybe in the lagoon for the fishing tournament would be here on June the 16th, 17th, or else whatever purpose the city deems fit for them. The Conservation Club has put a bill for them, so it'll be great. And thanks to the two people right here for spearheading, all this for the city.
We also have, for the docks, Edgewater Crane has offered to donate their time to put the docks in. We just need the city to say yes.
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 Excellent. What we'll do is first off, folks, thanks first of all, thank you for coming out this evening and giving us our presentation. What I would suggest, Harry, if you wanna, before they take off today, if you wanna sit in the back with them to make the arrangements for the docks. Now back to the WFN. Obviously this is not new to us. This is the third time around. This is the one, yeah, and by all means, you're hitting the right targets with respect to getting that word out with CHCH. I know Chris and Al set up some time with them in the past, and it worked out very well, as well as with 91.7 and of course all contacts. I think everyone in City Hall had their alarm clock set for those areas, and they literally got up in the middle of the night to vote.
It's gotten a little better.
But by all means, and one of the things that we really emphasized back then, and even today, is the fact that it's not just Port Colborne, Niagara. And quite frankly, we're blessed with a lot of water here in Niagara, regardless if it's Lake Erie, one of the rivers, or Lake Ontario. This is a Niagara effort. So I can only impress upon those watching on COGECO, as well as the media and you folks, that we need everybody to make this happen. We had in the past, just FYI, in the past we actually had people from Hamilton and as far away as Kitchener actually root for us and vote religiously for us, all 4 time slots. So by all means, it's something that, yes, we can boast over here locally, but I'm sure once we win, Niagara can boast a vote very proudly that we are the sport capital of Canada. So good on you for what you're doing. We're behind you 100%, and whatever we can do to simply pick up the phone and ask. Members of council, any questions or comments? Councilor Bonner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenters, is there some way we can get an email with all that information sent to us, and then we can distribute it to our people that, so we have it in our email, rather than us trying to pick it out of the paper or something like that?
Yes, we have Nancy's email, so we'll send her a copy of the flyer and the handouts, so.
Good. Thank you.
Pretty well guaranteed that he's there, Southern Ontario.
That's what we want.
Well, we got a lot of great support. As a matter of fact, Niagara Sports Express contacted me, and I put an ad on Kijiji, just trying to spread that little extra word, and within a young kids all have high-tech gadgets hooked to their waist like the majority of us nowadays. In fact, most people don't even have home phones anymore. It's cell phones, texting, pads, this and that, and, you know, the children can get involved and, you know, obviously they have things that they have to do community support too through school, I'm sure nowadays, so we can get them on board. It can be a big success.
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, Bart, go. Thanks, folks. Any further questions, members? With none, successfor alarm clocks, guys, get all set. We're doing it again. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Aren't you conservative? The robocall thing?
That's why Bob suggested.
You guys are on the ground floor that way. Just teasing you guys. Second delegation, we have Councilor Ron Bonner here, board member of the United Way, regarding a presentation of the Merit Award to the employees of the City of Port Colborne for an outstanding contribution to the community through support of the United Way. Members of council, you'll see the correspondence on page 19 of your agenda. Councilor Bonner, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Just put on another hat as a board member of United Way. And at the 49th annual general meeting, there was a plaque presented to the employees of the City of Port Colborne for an outstanding contribution to the community through support of the United Way. And I just thought it was appropriate to bring to the public's attention that the employees of Port Colborne deserved recognition and got it, and want to thank them on behalf of the United Way. And Mr. Mayor, I wonder whether you would accept this on behalf of the employees of the City of Port Colborne. And hopefully we'll have another one to present next year.
What do you and I together present this to Bob?
Sure.
As the staff, staff captain, so to speak. So.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well done. And to your entire team. Well done.
There are a lot of staff that do contribute. It is a good cause. So, we all have payroll deductions. I myself donate some of my vacation to employees for a draw, so to encourage their participation. So it's a good cause, and we would recommend anybody throughout the city to contribute. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, if I might say that certainly the United Way does raise money for some 18 different agencies in southern Niagara, and 2 in Port Colborne that you might recognize, Port Cares and Community Living, and the other agencies that certainly people in our city take advantage of. So it's when you don't know where to give your money, when you're not sure, United Way covers a lot of different agencies. They vet the agencies. They make sure that that they're doing great work for the community. So it's a good place to park your money.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilor Bodner, and if I may, congratulate, more appropriately, thank staff. Bob, you as a team leader here at the City Hall on behalf of staff and the administration, but as well, you folks, and as well parts of your team who contribute to the United Way. As Councilor Bodner rightly and correctly noted, the United Way does give a lot of dollars to a lot of organizations, both regionally and locally, and without them, those organizations just simply wouldn't be able to offer the services that they do through the communities in Niagara. So to all you folks, great work, and very much appreciated, I'm sure, by all those organizations. With that, Councilor Steele.
Oh, you want to do that now? Okay, sorry, I apologize. Yes, that's no problem.
You got an earpiece in listening to a Leaf game or something there?
Yeah. Doesn't start till 7:20.
7:20?
I'm sorry, Your Worship, I was just looking at something else here, but anyways, I'll move the Department of Community and Corporate Services Division. Report number 2013-10, subject Valley Health and Wellness Center Sponsorship Agreement. The Council of the City of Port Colborne authorizes City Clerk and the mayor to execute the attached sponsorship agreement for the jogging, walking track at Valley Health and Wellness Center.
Thank you, Councillor. If I can ask Councillor for leave as a this item off the agenda. Councillor Elliott, seconder. Councillor Demeray, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Are there any questions or comments? Actually, I need a seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Danch, any questions or comments on that motion? Staff, any comments or questions? Bobby, fine?
Perfect, Your Worship.
Okay, just for the information from those watching on COGECO, Bob, if you can give some background on this report. They don't have the luxury of seeing what's in front of us right now, but if you can give the background on the actual report itself, that would be very helpful for those watching on television.
Your Worship, as part of the fundraising efforts for the Valley Health and Wellness Center, there's lots of talk about how much there is and how much there isn't. This is a continual process. We're very fortunate to have contribution. You can see the jogging track we've had sponsored for a total of $50,000, and by Great Lakes Pharmacy, Inc. And they're located in the Port Medical Pharmacy building over on the corner of Canali and Steele. Yeah, I'm kind of right. I have to think about the address. I've been in Florida for 2 weeks, so I'm sure. We are absolutely ecstatic about this, and we're continuing to pursue these kinds of contributions, and we are very, very grateful for this, Your Worship, to come forward for the naming rights on the walking track, which I'd like to report is a huge, huge success. I think it's getting to the point that we probably should have put 6 lanes instead of 3. It really is busy, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning through until the facility closes at night. It's a great use of the space, and people that use it are ecstatic about it also.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Members of council, no further questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. I will now go to the podium for the presentation. As Mr. Howell mentioned, we have been fortunate throughout the past, especially the past year, to really garner a lot of community support, financial support for the Valley Health and Wellness Center. Obviously, there was a big chunk of dollars, close to $3 million, just over $3 million, that was targeted for fundraising within the $32 million price tag of the Valley Center. And I must say, and I'm happy to report on behalf of members of council and administration, that throughout the past, again, especially the last year, we've been fortunate, especially in a city of only 18,000 people, to bring forward close to $2 million in support and financial support, with Valley being the title sponsor, getting naming rights, and with that, many others. If you walk into the facility, you can see some of those names from community partners, mostly if they're all businesses, but it's still continuing to come in. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you, first I'm going to introduce Joanne. Joanne's the newest person on our team here that has taken over community sponsorship and partnership. I'm going to introduce Joanne this evening to help introduce our contributor. Joanne, come on up.
Thank you, Mayor Badaway. It's a great pleasure tonight to welcome Octavio from Port Medical Pharmacy. He's been wonderful to support us on our Valley Health and Wellness Center. And tonight he'd like to present his check for $50,000 to the city of Port Colborne.
guess as Mayor Badaway told me in private, like it seems like we just did a ribbon cutting ceremony at our pharmacy, and it's been 4 years already, and that was part of the master plan. As I told him, it was just the fact we were, you know, me and my partner Sam, that we're happy to be here and we want to give back to the community because they showed faith in us, in accepting us when we came here. And when Joanne, when we realized this valet was going up and there was an opportunity for sponsorship, we called the city hall right away, and Miss Joanne Schaupel, she was the person in charge, and I said we want to get on this right away, and we went on a Saturday 2 months ago, I guess, and the place was just, there was the parking lot was full, and it's wonderful to see in a community like Colborne that it seemed like it was in a like it was at the Penn Center, like there wasn't a place available, and we walked in there, we were dodging people all over the place, and she told me the options that were available for sponsorship, and we had a meeting, and we had a meeting at the place, and after 10 minutes, so I said, well, I'll get back to you, Joanne, about it, and I got into my car. In 10 minutes, I was driving my car. I stopped my car, and I called her on her cell phone. I said, Joanne, come see me Monday morning. I want to give you a check. And it feels so wonderful being able to give back to the community. And I guess, what we sponsored, I guess what's also we love, me and my partner, and is the fact that it's free for everyone to use. As one of the councilors were saying, at 6 in the morning, it's already rocking and rolling, that place, and you don't have to have a membership. Anyone can use it, and that's puts an extra smile on my face too. And thank you for listening, and I appreciate it, and thank you for accepting our donation. It makes us very happy and proud about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Octavio. It's fantastic having you on board. It's really great. And you're right, that place just buzzes all day. The amount of people that go on that track. So you got a good spot. You got a good spot. And Joanne, to you as well. I know Joanne's only been with us for a few months now, but she's taken her by storm. So great work to you as well. Thank you. Members, I'm now going to move on to my report. It's short, and two items that I do want to highlight. And I'm not sure if staff has the video queued up. Do they? They do. Last Thursday, Regional Council held a business planning session that focused on housing and homelessness in Niagara. And Regional Councilor Barrick was unable to attend this evening because he had, I guess, one of his young ones is ill today. So he's at home tending to, I think his young son. But he asked me to, at this meeting, if I could share a video that was shown to our regional councilors at a particular meeting that evening with respect to housing and homelessness, and I told him I would. So if I may request staff to get that up on the screen and press play.
What we don't realize, I think, as a community, is how many families like myself are going through tough times.
To people who have lost their social supports or burned bridges, they need to reconnect into community.
Once we get them housed, that's when we see the success start to happen.
Homelessness isn't a lifestyle, it's temporary.
affordable housing in the region. More housing in general would help, but more affordable housing would be helpful.
Homelessness is very personal. People have lost either all of their belongings, all of their social supports. They're very open and raw. So implementing dignity into who they are, into the core of who they are, through our interactions or one-on-one talks is probably the most rewarding, because we get to see real life change happen.
In 2010, 2011, I did a sort of a 12-month study on one individual in the community, and I came up to $110,000 just for that one person.
Typical homeless client for myself would be a male aged 45 and up, typically addiction or mental health issues. For the most part though, you'd be surprised, a lot of the people I run into out on the streets at one point or another, they had a $60,000, $75,000 a year job, they had a family at home. Something or another has gone wrong and everything fell apart from there, and they've basically found themselves in the gaps of the system with nobody to reach out to them and no one to help them and let them know where they can find the help that they need.
Their life is broken. Their life is not connected to anyone. Almost all of the people that come into a shelter have lost their social supports in a way that they either aren't able to live with someone that would typically help them out, like a family member or a friend. They may have burned bridges with them through addiction or mental health or some other unforeseen circumstance.
Recently, their EI has exhausted, and they're coming into our doors, maybe a family of 4. They have no income. They're at risk of losing their home.
We have women who are fleeing abuse, as well as people who have lost their homes due to either the loss of job, not enough income supported by Ontario Works. We also have people who are experiencing domestic breakdowns. Their marriage has dissolved and they've not lived on their own for a long period of time. We also deal with a lot of women who have either mental health or addiction concerns.
At times we've had up to 100 youth living on their own, going to school in St. Catharines and Thorold. They're kids who probably are coming from fractured homes, have mental health concerns that were diagnosis. They possibly have some fetal alcohol syndrome, some substance use of their own. They've somehow fallen through the cracks.
They become vulnerable and very susceptible to crime and violence, drug and alcohol abuse, bullying and isolation. So when they start to feel these things, they usually just go downward and end up staying at a friend's house. And then they'll stay there until they have used those resources up, and then they'll find another friend, and then they'll find another friend, until they've exhausted all their resources. And then at that point is where their schooling has been affected, their attendance is decreased, their ability to perform in school has significantly decreased, and now they're behind in credits. They have no one to turn to because they have left their home, and they're in that predicament of, what do I do? The only thing I have left is to leave my home community, leave my school, and attend a shelter.
Once we're at each individual stops, I'm off the truck out in the crowd speaking with people, finding out what resources they need, letting them know where they can find that help, or if it's something that I can provide them off the truck, I'll provide it right off the truck, like a sleeping bag, hats, mitts, things like that.
And then as the evening goes on, just touching base with clients I've had from the past, obtaining new clients, making sure they have what they need, following up with previous clients, making sure they've done the things I've asked them to check into probably a couple of days beforehand, and just making sure they have everything they need to get them through to the following day.
So aside from safe food, safe shelter, laundry facilities, shower facilities, 27 beds for males, 8 beds for females, we also offer access to social services that people might not have had a connection to prior to coming in.
This fund is so important now more than ever, because with the community startup now gone, we're going through those funds at a rapid rate.
I go out into the women's homes that we have found and work with them on a Niagara Regional Housing Supplement, which brings their rent down to an affordable cost. I then work with the women on a weekly basis, offering them supports in various areas, assisting them with going to counseling, teaching them budgeting skills, assertiveness training. Sometimes I'm just going to be an ear to listen.
We can even provide them a lot of life skills training, so even doing their homework, creating a budget. Some of them don't even know how to access the bank itself. I've never stepped in a bank. They need to open a bank account for Ontario Works, so a lot of it is just getting them set up and having the ability to be stable on their own. Well, without this program, they wouldn't have the ability to either stay in school or receive the basic needs that they have, that they need in life that sometimes we take for granted. So they have the choice: do I stay in school and couch surf from friend to friend to friend, or do I receive the basic needs in life?
We have demonstrated over the years that those coming into us have maintained housing for 6 months or longer, where in the past they had been using all of the services in the community. They had been chronically homeless.
We need more affordable housing in the region. More housing in general would help, but more affordable housing would be helpful. Increased income for those on assistance, or better employment opportunities even for them.
There's a whole system that has to change around youth and youth homelessness. More supports, not to give up on them so easily, so readily.
They're also needing shorter wait times for services. I mean, sometimes they need to get into a treatment program, but there's a 6-month wait list for it, so there's a great chance that they're going to relapse in the meantime of that, so we definitely need shorter wait times.
The problem that we are facing and that we need to address as we proceed is finding a landlord who will rent to a youth that we service. They're very afraid to rent to a youth because they're so young, and maybe if they have access to shelter before, they have that stigma that is attached to them, whereas they are great kids who just need to be given that chance.
What I love about my job is the rewards I get that are not even close to being monetary. I mean, the smile on somebody's face when I do something as simple as give them a clean pair of socks. You wouldn't believe the expression on their face. They're so grateful, and it's a pair of socks. You know, a lot of us take it for granted that we can pull those out of our drawer, but for these guys, it totally makes their day when you can just do something like that. So the rewards I get just from helping the people, that's where I love my job the most.
Thank you, members of staff, and I do also want to thank Councillor Barrett for bringing that to our attention here tonight at the public city council meeting. If I can continue, members of council, with respect to the last part of my report, I wanted to talk today or this evening about childhood cancer. I've had the privilege to be a part of a past fundraising effort here in the approximately 1 in 333 young people will be diagnosed with cancer before the age of 20. The effects of childhood cancer hits home within every community, including here in the city of Port Colborne. On Easter Sunday, as I just mentioned, numerous, and I say numerous volunteers, on Easter Sunday attended a fundraiser at Metamorphosis Styles on West Street to support young Jason Becker, who has recently been diagnosed with leukemia. Along with his family and his friends, and many, many folks that, quite frankly, stopped by, strangers who stopped by, raised a great deal of funds for childhood cancer research. Although Jason was unable to attend, the turnout was outstanding, as I mentioned, and funds raised will go to St. Baldrick's and the Childhood Cancer Canada Foundation. This coming Saturday, April 13th, at Cliff Hall, beginning at 7 p.m., there's another fundraiser for 5-year-old Oakwood Elementary student Peyton Fletcher, who is currently battling lymphoma B, as sick kids in Toronto. May I state that the entire community stands shoulder to shoulder with both Jason and Peyton in all these efforts and all those that are battling childhood cancer. Therefore, may I request leave of council this evening to present to you a resolution declaring the week of April 8th to April 14th, 2013 as Together, a Community Fighting Childhood Cancer here in the city of Port Colborne. And before I get to that resolution, I also want to make mention of the fact that the Canadian Cancer Society is joining the Niagara community for a special event this coming weekend, and that's the closing ceremonies for the stair climb for children's cancer. And for 75 years, the Cancer Society, the Canadian Cancer Society, as you know, has been with Canadians in the fight for life. So they are asking you, members of our community, as well as members of all councils, to join special speakers, Ontario CEO Martin Kabat, childhood cancer survivor Lisa Hamel, and Olympian Barbara Berezowski, as they mark the impact that we've made locally, not only here in the Niagara region, but across Canada. This is taking place, again, as the other event that I mentioned earlier, on Saturday, April 13th. This being in the afternoon, starting in the morning at 11:30 a.m. and continuing on to 12:30 p.m. on the arcade level at the Skyline Tower at 5200 Robinson Street in the city of Niagara Falls. Come and meet courageous childhood career patients and survivors and dozens of inspirational Olympians as they present them with medals and share a commemorative 75th anniversary cake. Their Stair Climb for Children's Cancer raises funds for the local Wheels of Hope transportation program, as well as for childhood cancer research. So I encourage all those folks, those here today, this evening, as well as those folks watching on COGECO, to keep in your prayers all those fighting childhood cancer. Two that I want to put a face to within this community, Jason Becker, once again, who was fighting leukemia, and as well, as I mentioned earlier, Peyton Fletcher, who as well is battling lymphoma B, currently at Sick Kids in Toronto. So let's keep them in our thoughts and our prayers, and by all means, take part in some of the events that are happening, some of which are on their behalf. So with that, again, I will be looking for a mover and seconder, and I'll present this to you this evening. First off, if I can have a mover and seconder for leave, Councillor Demery and Councillor Steele. All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. That whereas approximately 1 in 333 young people will be diagnosed with cancer before the age of 20, and whereas the cause of most childhood cancers is unknown, and at present childhood cancer cannot be prevented, and whereas the majority of children with cancer require rounds of chemotherapy to treat their disease, many require surgery and or radiation to remove the tumor. For some, a bone marrow transplant is their only hope of survival. And whereas the length of treatment for childhood cancer ranges from 3 months to 2.5 years, sometimes, if not most times, less than adult cancers being fought. And whereas significant advances in cancer therapy, the result of scientific and clinical research, means that approximately 75% of children diagnosed with cancer are expected to become long-term survivors. And whereas the improved prognosis for childhood cancer has not been realized without a cost. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Van Sam Badaway, declare the week of April 8th to April 14th, 2013 as Together, a Community Fighting Childhood Cancer, here in the city of Port Colborne, in support of those within our community and beyond who are battling childhood cancers. If I can have a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Steele. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, members. I'll now move on to Councillor's items and new business. Councillor Steele, Councillor Wagner, Councillor Elder.
Thank you, Your Worship. I had a call from a constituent yesterday with regards to the, and I'm not sure if it's the diabetes donation box, but it's one of the organizations that take in goods through, it's a red box that sits between Beaujeu Pharmacy and Food Basics. Unfortunately, every once in a while we get garbage dumping there, and I know staff have done it in the past to clean up what's dumped there, but it does start to blow around downtown. So the constituent asked me to bring this up with regards to having staff keep an eye out on that area. Obviously, it's probably in the middle of the night these people do this because it's a pretty busy area during the day. No matter what day you're in there with the parking lots for the pharmacy and Food Basics right there, and also the doctor's office. So there's a number of apartment buildings that are around there, so we could have staff keep an eye on it. And also maybe through staff, if they could give us just a little overview of when we catch these people, what's in store for them as far as fines and what could happen. I'm not sure if it's Mr. Rockland, but I think it is.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Rockland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Steele. Presently, right now, we have a system that if the information leads to the actual conviction and the finding of the individual, they will be eligible for a $300 reward. So I know other people have taken advantage of that because we have successively pursued people that are illegally dumping on our roadside. So this particular case we will also pursue and keep our eye out, but if any member of the public has any information to come forward and bring that to our attention.
Thank you, Mr. Rockland.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you to Mr. Eklund, what is the fine to the person that gets caught?
Mr. Eklund.
Approximately?
Mr. Mayor, that is something that is determined by the Justice of the Peace, but it's something that is taken seriously. I don't have the actual figure in front of me, but I know if a successful conviction, they're also eligible to pay a $300 fine. So that's why we also use that amount to actually reward people, to bring those people forward to our attention.
Thank you, Mr. Eklund.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Only because you have an organization that's getting donations for their cause, and it's pretty bad when you see all the crap that's around this. So people that want to drive in and donate to it. We've got a downtown businessman that's allowed this to be put on his property. I'm sure he doesn't appreciate all the garbage. It's household garbage, drywall. How they think old crappy drywall is going to be good for the. And again, I'm not sure if it is, but I believe it is the Diabetes Association. How that's good for them. It's mainly there for clothing and also that they can use for their cause. So, the newspapers can pick up on this, put something in that. If we catch you, look out. Staff will take it to the fullest extent of the law. I hope that people that do see
contractor. So she called March 13th, I guess, and spoke to a lady there, and she said, well, it might take about 2 weeks, and that's fine. Call back if it doesn't happen. Well, it didn't happen, so she called back, and then she called again today and said, no, it's still not working. And the lady explained the private contractor does it, and so I guess the lady at CNP suggested maybe she calls the city and just maybe there could be something good could come of that. So she calls the city, and rightly so, our staff said, well, we don't have anything to do with that, and that's fine. But I just wonder whether, I know we can call CNP and I know we could get their attention. So she says she, in her email she sent to me, it's that she has no faith in CNP, some faith in me that I might do it. So I'd like to raise my stature from some faith to at least a little hope. And you know, so I wonder if we could call CNP. I've got the poll number. She supplied that to them and everything. But it would seem like a year and 3 months might be a little long length of time, because it is a rural road and it's dark there. So it's something we should look into, and I wonder if we could make it.
Can you give me the information, Ron? Do you have the information handy?
I can email it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just emailing CNP right now, so
Okay.
let's hopefully they'll get to it right away. Thanks, Ron. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Mr. Hanson. The construction's resumed on the services on Clarence Street between Fielden and Steele. 2 items I'd like to bring up. Maybe we can get the contractor to look into it real quick. Last night I came home. There was 2 vehicles parked on Clarence Street. Kind of taking out the travel lane that's left because of the construction that they've done down the middle of the street. They dropped off the service vehicles, machinery they're going to use to dig again. Fortunately, these cars weren't parked by the equipment. Had they been, there would have been no way you could get around the parked vehicles to continue on. We haven't posted no parking during the construction. The residents been really, really good. And then I saw with the equipment back and the cars parked, I thought, okay, if we get into this situation, you're not going to be able to get around them. Is it feasible we could put up no parking, or visit the people on the street and tell them, if possible, don't park on Steve or on Clarence until the construction's done? Secondly, the roadway was completely closed off today. I saw 3 cars almost get hit by people southbound on Steele Street in the left turn lane approaching Clarence. And when they realized that they couldn't make a left on Steele, they veered back to continue on, or left on Clarence, they went back to go down Steele. And now the cars that are going down the through lane on the right-hand side almost hit them. If the contractor could block off the left turn lane southbound on Steele at Clarence, so people can't get into the left turn lane, we'd probably avoid people going back over to go through. That could be done immediately. The no parking, I don't know what position we could take on that, just through the phase of construction that they're in right now.
Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Elliott. We'll be happy to take a look at all that tomorrow. We topped up all the trenches today with stone, cleaned the trenches up, put some dust suppressant on them. We've had an ongoing dialogue with the residents there who do the work. They've been very cooperative, especially the Clarence Street section. So we'll speak to them tomorrow about it, update them perhaps on the schedule that's going forward. And just for the information of council, the asphalt plants aren't open yet, so we're struggling a little bit with getting these trenches in proper condition. It's a temporary condition now, so appreciate everybody's patience on that. Plant should be open at the end of April, so hopefully we'll get this all cleaned up at the end of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Councilor.
Thank you. If you could pass along, I guess, my appreciation. This contractor, I've never seen him do any work in the city before. How quickly they went from Fielden to Steele, the initial dig, and then they blocked off the intersection at Steele and Clarence 3 days before March break was over to get it implemented so that when the kids get back to school, there was no disruption. Their work has been first class, first rate, as quickly as they moved along. I know they're doing some work Street as well. They seem to get in, get it done, get their equipment moved to open the streets up. So if you could pass along my thanks for the work that they've been doing, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. Councilor Nimmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item about the East Village Park. Everybody's happy with the berms being removed. I don't know if council's been around to see it, but it looks great. The community's happy with it. But there is a problem with the south entrance off of Welland Street. That particular entrance sits very low. When there's rain, the catch basin doesn't seem to collect the water properly, so it backs up into that entrance. And the sidewalk right at that point has a strange grade. It comes along and it goes down a little bit of a hill, and it's a bit broken up anyway. People are tripping. I actually noticed that they trip over it. It's not a good thing. So if you're walking uphill, there's that trip factor, but going downhill, it's even worse. The ice gone, it's not so bad, but it's going to be a problem. I don't know what you could do about that, but I know, Mr. Hanson, we've spoken about this before, and the homeowner that's immediately south of the park there has also called today with some complaints, the same complaints. So possibly if you could touch base with him again and see if there's anything that you can do with that, but certainly the entrance to the park is going to pose a bit of a problem. So seeing as we're working on it, the community's ready now to get a plan put together and come and see the city about possibilities for the park. This would be the time to move forward with that.
Thank you, Councilor. I know that's a quadrant of the city that we have problems with water, especially standing water, for quite some time. Mr. Hanson, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that particular area on Welland, that side of Welland Street, north of Nickel, we have some standing water issues. We've done a lot of work in the past here on the storm sewer system there, getting that ready. There are some elevation problems in terms of where the curves are. The sidewalks are actually lower than the curve than the curves in that area. So it's something we're working on, looking at. We'll be happy to go forward with that, take a look at it tomorrow, see if there's any other solutions.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson, and thank you, Councilor Nimmer. Any further items? Councilor Water.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I forgot one I was going to bring up ahead of time. I attended Showboat Saturday night, another sold-out concert, fabulous. At least 20 plus cars parked on the high school side of the road, which happens when there's a sold-out or even a full, almost full concert. And we have a sidewalk that goes down the side of Roseon towards Port High. It ends halfway. And then you're in the mud, well, grass with mud showing. So people park there because there is no other parking on the street. The parking lot's full. So there was 20 plus cars, and there was a lot of them had 4 people in there, so there's a lot of people go there. We've got a light on the side, but no light on the back. So you get to the end of the sidewalk, you're on something less than level ground to get halfway then to the street to get to a dark area. So we need that sidewalk extended. And also if somebody goes out there and takes a look, there's paving just before it and it drops off onto the sidewalk. So it's really, I think what happened was someone just put that sidewalk in, not the city, to kind of help the situation. And it does, but it really does pose a problem, and it's serious. I have trouble walking, and I've seen a lot of other people with canes that had trouble, that were going that way. It is an accident waiting to happen. And in light of the announcement we're going to have tonight, shortly, I know that that'll be full up with people, and we need to get that fixed. Someone please look at that. It's a danger, and it needs to be fixed.
Thank you, Councilor. And members of council, I don't mind. We can at least have consensus. Instead of asking for a motion, we can ask staff to come back with a cost of that. Looking at both the sidewalk as well as the light. Mr. Hanson, is that fine? Members of council, that's fine. We'll get some back. Questions? Fine. Good. Thank you, Councilor Water. Councilor Elliott.
One quick thing I forgot to pick on Ron tonight. I noticed that all the locates have been done on Cloud Street with regards to the region doing their work. Any idea when the big machinery is going to move in and in effect, the street is gonna be out of commission for a while. I know that the downtown BIA is interested in the Chamber of Commerce as well.
Mr. Mayor, we have a report coming forward on the 22nd. Unfortunately, we didn't make it for tonight's agenda. There's a revised schedule for the project. There's been a lot of issues with utility locates that have delayed the tendering of the project, and also there's property acquisitions that are required for daylight on almost all the corners. So those ongoing negotiations with the region and the homeowners and property owners are going forward. So we have a report coming. We'll give you a complete update of the project on the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. That's fine. Members of council, any further items of new business? With none, I'm now moving on to the minutes of the 10th meeting of the regular committee of the whole, dated March 25th, 2013. Members, mover and seconder, please. Councilor Bodnar, Councilor Danch, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to the items requiring a separate discussion. We'll start off with item 2. Councilor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Department of Community and Corporate Services, Community Services Division, report number 2013-10, subject Roselawn Center and Showboat Festival Theater 2013 summer production. That the Council of the City of Port Colborne receives for information purposes this report with respect to the Roselawn Center Summer Theater operation for the 2013 summer season.
Thank you, Councilor. Second to that, please. Councilor Steele. Questions or comments? Councilor Bodnar.
I know there's members of Showboat Board here and probably somebody from Lighthouse too, I would imagine. And I think, Mr. Mayor, they may want to say something.
Thank you, Councilor. Members of council, at your pleasure, I will allow representatives from both Lighthouse and Showboat to come on up and say a few words. Gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Your Worship, everyone, councilors, thank you very much for hearing us. I am Derek Ritchell, Artistic Director of Lighthouse Festival Theater, which is located in beautiful Lakeside, Port Dover. There has been an arrangement made, a marriage of the minds, as it were. We have representatives from both boards here. Showboat was having some trouble, and Lighthouse was able to come and work with Showboat Festival. It should be distinctly understood that this is not Lighthouse coming to Port Colborne and imposing our way of theater and our system. The idea of this marriage is that we are making sure that Showboat Festival Theater is still Port Colborne's theater. We respect that. We want to respect the programming and what they've become used to. Of course, there will be a few changes. Lighthouse does its business a certain way, and we're used to it, and it's worked for us in the past. A little background on us. We are a theater. We generate about annually 40,000 people we pull to the downtown core of Port Dover, which is a town of about 5,500 people. With those 40,000 people annually, through the Ontario government trend model, we are able to generate about $4.5 million in economic impact for our community. That's restaurants, B&Bs, motels, et cetera, et cetera. We are only a 350-seat theater. The theater that we are working with now in Showboat is about 270. We have every intention of growing the theater that way to benefit the entire town of Port Colborne. One of our mandates, being a charitable not-for-profit organization of Lighthouse Theater, one of our mandates is charitable. About 10% of all of our ticket sales is earmarked directly to go towards local charities. And it's something that we feel very strongly about, and we are actually mandated by the mandates of the theater. So it is something that a mentality that we propose to bring towards Port Colborne. This is your theater, and we respect it. We want to make sure that it thrives for many, many years to come. And a little blurb I wrote recently, which is in the brochures that we have brought, and if it's all right, if we can hand that to someone to pass out, we appreciate that. Lighthouse, Ontario only has 25 professional summer theaters. There's only 25. There's over 400 and something communities in this province. And only 25 are blessed enough to have these theaters. Whether it be through just artistic fabric of the community or economic impact. And Port Colborne was one. And Lighthouse Theatre was another. And we have been fortunate to be successful. Thank you. And this is Helen Wagner, the Administrative Director of Lighthouse Festival Theatre. We were very fortunate to be one of those 25, and we felt very strongly that Port Colborne not close. As a matter of fact, when it was making an announcement, they were considering it. I placed a call and said, please don't, because we are a family, these 25 theaters. It's important for our fabric artistically in this province to keep these theaters alive. It's important for our identity as Ontarians. And one of them closing was not acceptable on many levels. So here we are, and the board of Showboat felt just as strongly as our board, and we did, to make sure that these theaters thrive. We have a little thing called port-to-port theaters productions, right? We're trying to make sure that the port theaters along the north shore of Lake Erie stay together. Lighthouse Festival Theatre is also committed on putting shows together of their community. And for instance, last year we wrote a show about rum runners out of Port Dover. It was a local story. And I propose to bring that sort of same mentality and find the stories of Port Colborne and its relationship with Lake Erie and put them on the stage. We're blessed that we are able to attract a certain level of talent, and we are blessed that will be able to transfer that talent, such as Norm Foster's and such, to be performing on your stage. So this is the proposed season that we have here. It's a shortened season, but it is a very powerful season. We're very proud of it. You're going to see some things on that stage that you've never seen before. I do announce that the theater will not be in the round. If you look on the back, it is now into a proscenium setup, which is just easier for us to transfer our shows. It's just too hard for us to make a show work from our proscenium setup to the round. So that's the one major change. So we have the passion, we have the infrastructure, and now we're just looking for the audience. And we're here to make that announcement tonight to you, that we are aiming to be a partner with Port Colborne, and to not come here looking for money, but to say that we are looking for ways to contribute back to the community as our mandate dictates. So that's my presentation.
Wonderful, well done, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that very much.
Members of council, Councilor Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before Gary goes, I wonder whether he could read the plays. There's 4 of them. There's a short blurb on there.
Yes.
I think it'd be enlightening for the audience, and there's some pretty interesting things coming out there.
Sure. Yeah. We'll try and make it reasonably quick. Henry and Alice will be the first show, playing from June 12th to June 16th. This show is actually the sequel to one of the most successful shows that Lighthouse Festival Theatre has ever presented. It boasted 23 out of 24 sold outs. That show is called Sexy Laundry, which has played in Port Colborne a few years ago. It's called Henry and Alice. Richard Bauer and Melody Finley, who are big actors in our region, will follow up this show. It's about this couple who have had financial difficulties, and instead of going to the Hyatt, they go to a camping ground, and they take their tent to reconnect with what's most important, that's each other. Following that will be Knickers, a brief comedy. This is a story about 4 women who live in a town that is desperate because the town's mill has just closed. They're feeling the pinch of that. Employment is rising. So these 4 industrious women find a way to raise some money, and they do that through Knickers. It's very similar to the Full Monty kind of storyline, but it is of Canadian women. So there's lots of Canadian jokes, and we'll all have a laugh at some of the inside jokes. Beavers are mentioned. They have, the next show is the 39 Steps, August 14th to the 18th. This show's really interesting. A lot of people don't know this, but John Buckham wrote this show in 1920-ish, and he was the Governor General of Canada. And he wrote the original story. Then Alfred Hitchcock made a very dry movie of the 39 Steps. And then a wonderful fellow named Patrick Barlow, who had a great sense of humor, came in and really jazzed this up. It is absolutely off the wall, British farce comedy fun. You have a main character, Hannay, and female lead, and then you have the two clowns. And those two clowns play the other 130 characters from the movie. And it is a ride to watch. It's quite a spectacle to see, and it's a lot of fun. And closing out the season is on a first-name basis by the #1 playwright in Canada, and probably within the top 5 in the world. His name is Norm Foster. This show is about a novelist who's had the same housekeeper for 28 years and doesn't know a thing about her until they're forced to talk one night. And they learn about each other, and I just saw it Friday night. It's a co-production between us and Theatre Orangeville. I saw it on Friday night, and it got a standing ovation before the lights even came up. It's out of this world funny, Norm Foster. And one of the great things about the relationship now with Colborne and Lighthouse is that we are able to attract Norm Foster himself to star in the show. So he will be live on the stage here in Colborne from August 21st to August 25th.
That's great. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Can I put you on the record for that, Mayor?
You got it.
Thank you. $100 box office number is just in my blood.
You got me. You got me. And it doesn't affect the Sabre games either.
No! I thought about you. It's all good.
That's great. You got me. That's great.
Okay.
Councillor Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This certainly is wonderful news. And it's great to have a professional theater coming in to, to take up the dark days that could have been there at the theater. And I just must tell you, on Saturday night, I attended the Johnny Cash and Hank Williams and the Lost Highway at Roseland, the sold-out country music concert. And I got it. Somebody sent me a sneak preview of this, so Joe White was good enough to allow me to say a few words at that concert. And it got a huge applause when I announced that there was going to be a Showboat theater kind of back in with Lighthouse. And so I just want to tell you that people were very excited to have that happen. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank staff, for working on this. Friends of Roseland had a slight part in this. And also, I'd like to thank James Brennan, because I know James worked on this, the due diligence part, and having worked on the board with James, I know that there wasn't a letter, a number that wasn't turned over upside down and sideways. So I know he put a lot of work in it. I'd like to personally thank James for all the due diligence he did, and
James and Helen put about 6,000 emails into this process.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Wagner. Further comments, questions? Absolutely, Councillor Steele. It's fantastic news. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming out, showing an interest in our community, first off. Thank James and his team. You never give up, and that's just good on you. That's good for you. And this certainly will continue a tradition of fabulous theater here in the city of Port Colborne, within the region of Niagara. It surely and certainly pairs up well with the Shaw, and of course, theater down the North Shore down from Port to Port Dover. It as well continues a tradition of a robust, balanced menu of activities and entertainment here in the community, which we're very proud of. And there's no question that we were all hurt by the announcement made a few months ago, and we hoped someone like you would come up and work with our folks to ensure that show will continue. And finally, overall, like every community, we always want to be a destination for our tourists, and it adds to that ability as well. And finally, most importantly, it adds to the ability of offering our residents a better quality of life with that robust balance of quality services as well as entertainment activities. So, to you folks, all you folks, sincerely. So we have received emails upon emails upon emails for the past 2 or 3 months from people from all over, not just the city of Port Colborne, but from all over, that have pleaded with council staff and many people throughout the community to ensure that Showboat stays in Port Colborne. You've made that happen, so congratulations, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much, and we're looking forward to partnering with the city as much as we possibly can. So thank you for hearing me.
I'll be in the front row, rooting for you.
I'll be right beside you. Just not on playoff night.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Members of council, with that, are there any further questions or comments on this report? James, anything to say?
No, Derek spoke for all.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for attending this evening.
There's 6 members of the Lighthouse Board here that comment they believe in this town.
Excellent. Well, before you leave, go down the canal side, have a refreshment and a bite to eat. Already been there? Right on. Well, hit at 27 on the way out then. But thanks for coming down, guys, and showing your interest. We truly appreciate it. And once again, congratulations. Great job. With that, members, with no further questions or comments, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Now, don't go anywhere. We still have more meeting left here, okay? Okay, members, we're going to move on to item 5. Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I bring this up for Councillor Elliott's conflict. The Department of Planning and Development Report number 2013-16, subject recommendation report for housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment, file number D140512. One, that Council of the City of Port Colborne approved the zoning bylaw amendment attached here to as Appendix A. 2, that the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to proceed with the giving of notice of passing of the bylaws in accordance with the Planning Act. 3, that pursuant to the provisions of sections 34, subsection 17 of the Planning Act, no further notice of public meeting be required.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Desmarais. Any questions or comments noting the councillor's conflict? With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 10. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I forgot my glasses, so give me a second while I make it big enough to read.
Please.
Region of Niagara, re-implementation of the Smarter Niagara Incentives Program, Public Domain Incentives Request 2012 Program Recommendations. And it comes from the Integrated Community Planning Report 23-2013. That the correspondence received from the Region of Niagara, re-implementation of the Smarter Niagara Incentives Program, Public Domain Incentives Request 2012 Program Recommendations, Report ICP 23-2013 be received for information.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder, please. Councillor Dash. Questions, comments? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess it's appropriate that this is in our package tonight, and we have the discussion around Lighthouse Theater and Showboat. I read with interest the report from ICP at the region, and it seems that the money was up to $100,000 grant from the region to some work that was done in other communities around us. I guess I got two questions. One, did we apply for any of this funding? Did we have any projects going on in town that the funding would have applied to? 50 cent dollars from the region helps us out. And then I guess secondly, part of the parameters that they describe, and I'll just go down to them in the report. We always say, and again, this is when I'm going to refer back to Showboat and to Lighthouse, that the place where this all takes place, Rosemont Center, that it's a municipal building that's under the heritage designation, and we never seem to put any money into it. Eligibility guidelines for this project must be highly visible and part or facing public space and be suitable for identification by way of appropriate scaled signage. Project must include a green component. Project must be designed in compliance with applicable urban design guidelines. And I think, what was I reading? Consideration will be given to facade incentives of municipal and institutional not-for-profit buildings such as museums, libraries, and theaters. So I thought, we've got one of those that physically needs some work done to it, to the outside of the building. I know for a fact, I was just talking with Ron before the meeting, there's an accessibility issue with an accessibility ramp and stuff like that. I'm just wondering if we have applied in the past, if this is an ongoing fund, and if it is ongoing for years to come, if we could maybe sit down and take a look at this, see what the issues we have with public buildings that may need some work, that may qualify for this type of funding. So I guess the original question is, do we apply in the past? Do we have any projects that we were looking towards, and what do we have for the future?
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Mr. Ackley.
Here, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have applied in the past, and yes, we have received 50 cent dollars, and what the program and project we applied for was the actual Main Street CIP portion of the property, but more so to do with Humberson Hall improvements. It was about $82,000 that we ballparked improvements to be made. Unfortunately, we haven't proceeded with that, but we have the money in the bank up at the regional level. We just got to come up with that money ourselves, and that hasn't happened yet. Have we applied since? No. It really needs to be something that is shovel-ready, and unfortunately, nothing has been brought forward that is indeed shovel-ready, so to speak.
Or has 50 cent dollars attached to it, besides the Preston Hall project.
Correct.
But that's not to say that throughout the year we can't apply, because there is a budgeted amount of money available at the region. It's just a matter of having, as Mr. Ackley correctly noted, a shovel-ready project that has 50 cent dollars already attached to it through our budget. Okay, Councilor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. It's good to know. I didn't realize that they had this in effect. I know we always talk about the condition of Roselawn itself. I know with Showboat pulling the plug and now being resurrected, maybe we were thinking that, here's an old building, it's not going to be used and utilized. Maybe we don't have to put any money into it. We'll just let it sit, mothball it, and see what happens with it. If it's going to get the use, maybe this is an opportunity to put some of our own money towards it, rehabilitate some things. I know if we throw up to $100,000, we get 100 from the region. 200,000 isn't going to do all the work that's necessary, but at least it's a start. Maybe we can look at something that we're going to be impactful for accessibility. I know that was an issue on one end. You never know what we could get going forward after that. So maybe we'll earmark it, like the mayor said. Throughout the year we can apply. Maybe contribute some dollars when we get them. Maybe put it on the budget for next year and see what happens.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bonner?
Just to take up on there, we have a consultant's report that's pretty thorough, and it lists everything that needs to be done, and I think it's prioritized too, as things that we should do first. So we're a long ways down the road, but at least we know what needs to be done. Probably the next step is finding out costs for certain ones, or making sure that report maybe, I'm sure staff knows what may need to be done on that. So I think that's a perfect project to move ahead on. And just on the use side of Roselawn, I know Harry and his team have some ideas. Certainly the CAO has been at a couple meetings with a couple people that got ideas, and the Friends of Roselawn will be coming forward with ideas as soon as we get a chance to present here to council. And actually, they were going to do it next week, but I think next week may be a little busy with the public meeting that we have going on again with restrictions. So I'm not sure that may be the best time. But anyways, they're coming forward with it. I think it's a great idea, Dave. I think we should work on it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Demery? Oh, I thought I seen your hand go up. You're good? Okay. With no further questions or comments, members? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Members of council, any notice of the motion? Councilor Demery?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next meeting I will be bringing forward a motion concerning the federal provincial employment and pre-employment programs and how they can be changed to better serve older workers in Port Colborne.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further notices of motion? With none, before I adjourn, I do want to inform Councillor Bodnar, I just forwarded to you a note I received from CMP, Canadian Niagara Power. Their customer service and corporate communications representative has sent on the message that they have passed along to their supervisor and requested that light to be looked at ASAP. And my comment to you or request of you is to talk to the constituent. The constituent hasn't received any satisfaction within 1 week to get back to us, and we'll put our foot where it should be.
Good.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good. Members of council, motion to adjourn this portion of the meeting. Councillor Bodnar, Councillor Elliott, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Let's move on to our council agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any agenda items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, there are two. They are both of an administrative nature. The first is a correction to the bylaw numbers listed on this evening's agenda. Numbering will be amended in the minutes in order to begin with bylaw number 59374313. Secondly, there is a correction to the description of the closed session item B listed on your agenda. This item was received as a report rather than a memo, which is the way it's described in the agenda. So we're going to amend the description to read Chief Administrative Officer, Special Projects and Corporate Strategic Initiatives Report 2013-4.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of council, mover and seconder for the agenda, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Bodnar, questions or comments from the agenda? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Disclosures, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 5 is I participate in one of the events.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now move on to the adoption of the minutes. We do have a set of minutes for the 11th meeting regular of council dated March 25th, 2013. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Desmarais, questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Items requiring a separate discussion. Councillor Steele.
Item 5.
Thank you. Any further items, members? With none, Councillor Steele.
For Councillor Elliott's conflict, I'll move Department of Planning and Development report number 2013-16, subject recommendation report for housekeeping, zoning bylaw amendment file number D140512.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder to that, please? Councillor Desmarais? Long day.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. To the remainder of the items, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bodnar, Councillor Elliott, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Members, we're now going to move on to the minutes of boards, commissions, and committees. I do have a few sets of minutes here. If you don't mind, I'll do them in block. That's fine. First off, we have the minutes of the Board of Management of the Port Colborne Historical Marine Museum, dated February 19th, 2013. The second set of minutes, we have the minutes of the Canal Days Advisory Committee meeting, dated January 16th, 2013, as well as February 20th, 2013. Thirdly, we have the minutes of the Seniors Advisory Council meetings of December 6th, 2012, January 17th, 2013. The minutes of the Environmental Advisory Committee meeting, dated February 13th, 2013. And finally, the minutes and discussion notes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee of March 13th, 2013. And members, you will note that they are a draft in your agenda. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Nash, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Notice of motion. Councillor Desmarais.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be bringing forward a motion concerning the federal provincial employment and pre-employment programs to be changed to better serve the older workers in program.
Thank you, Councillor Desmarais. Any further notices of motion, members? With none, Madam Clerk, consideration of bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to also separate out the bylaw associated with the item respecting Councillor Elliott's conflict. That the following bylaws be read 3 times and finally
and seconder, please. Councillor Lay, Councillor Bodnar, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Be carried. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, that the following bylaw be read 3 times and finally passed. Bylaw 59404613, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 11503781 as amended for all lands located within the city of Colborne.
Thank you, Ashley. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Demery. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the following bylaw be read 3 times and finally passed. Bylaw 59424813, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Colborne at its special and regular meetings of Council April 8, 2013.
Thank you, Ashley. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Demery, Councillor Danish. All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Before I ask for a motion to go into closed session, I do want to announce that we do have a few meetings here that I do want people in the public to recognize we're having on April 22nd. We are having a committee of the whole as well as council meeting here in the chamber beginning at 6:30 p.m. And following that, on Monday, May 13th, we have once again the committee of the whole and council meeting beginning here in the chamber at 6:30 p.m. I will now entertain a motion. Madam Clerk, you had a change to one of the titles to the closed session. Was it B? And it was going from special projects report versus memorandum. Okay, gotcha. Okay, members, I'm going to be asking for a motion to go into closed session to consider 2 items. First being the minutes of the closed session portion of the March 11, 2013 regular council meeting. And secondly, the Chief Administrative Officer Special Projects and Corporate Strategic Initiatives Report number 2013-4 with respect to initiatives concerning matters impacting the Port Colborne Energy Park and conveying legal advice relating to same pursuant to Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392C, a proposed or pending acquisition of land or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, subsection 2392E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and finally 2392F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, the seconder, Councillor Danch. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. As well, the CAO is passing me a note here that NION will as well be part of an OMB hearing starting on Monday, this Monday I assume, this Monday here in the chamber, the 15th of April, beginning at 11 a.m. So all those folks that are interested in NION as it relates to the Ontario Municipal Board, hearings once again here starting Monday, April 15th in the chamber at 11:30 or 11 a.m. You're more than welcome to attend. With that, members, mover and seconder to go into closed session. We voted on it already? We haven't voted on it. You haven't done a seconder? Okay, thank you, Ashley. All in favor? Opposed? That'll be carried. Have a wonderful week.
Sorry for